The Ark of the Covenant is a holy relic from 1000 BCE,
that contains the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments, according to the book of Exodus.
carried by the Israelites for 40 years after they were led by Moses to escape from slavery in Egypt.
A structure was detected beneath Jerusalem, exactly 2.5 cubits long. Acacia wood, covered in gold. It matched no known artifact until someone whispered its name, the Ark, the one that vanished when empires rose and temples fell. Now it stirs beneath the city where the veil tore, beneath the place where blood met stone. No headlines, no press conference, just silence. But those who've seen it say, it lives. And if that's true, then prophecy isn't coming. It's waking. The earth doesn't forget, not when it drinks the blood of innocence, not when the sky turns black and the veil of the temple tears in two. Below Golgotha, where the Lamb was slain, there is a silence that trembles. In 1982, a man named Wyatt claimed he followed an impression, not a vision, not a dream, a divine nudge that drew him to a hidden chamber beneath the place of the skull. He descended through crumbling stone, past ancient tunnels and sealed chambers, until he found something buried, a rectangular shape, roughly 2.5 cubits long, made of wood overlaid with gold. The room was dusty, dark, but undisturbed. No torch had passed through it in centuries, no breath but his. And there, resting behind broken stone, lay the Ark, or something like it. But there's more. Above the chamber, a thin fissure ran down through the rock, directly from the site traditionally known as Calvary. He said there was blood, dried, crusted, a dark stain seeping through the centuries, right onto the mercy seat. He collected a sample, had it tested, human, yet not. The chromosomes didn't add up, a child, but with no earthly father. Could this be coincidence? Or did God seal the covenant with his own blood? Scripture said the Ark held three things: the tablets of the law, Aaron's budding rod, and a jar of manna law, priesthood, provision. But now, blood. Was this the final seal, the ultimate fulfillment of what the Ark always symbolized? Isaiah once wrote that by his stripes we are healed. And Jeremiah prophesied of a day when the Ark would no longer be remembered, because something greater would come. But what if it wasn't gone? What if it was hidden, until the day heaven calls it forth again? And what if that day is closer than we think? Power doesn't vanish. It buries itself. It waits beneath the weight of time, unseen, but never absent. The Ark of the Covenant was not merely a relic. It was a throne, a weapon, a testimony. Where it went, nations trembled. Where it rested, the presence of God hovered between wings of gold. And then it disappeared. Not stolen, not destroyed, simply gone. When Babylon invaded Jerusalem, the temple was stripped, its treasures seized. But not the Ark. No record, no inventory, no spoil. Just a hole in the story, as if heaven itself erased the page. This silence is not neglect, it's restraint. The Ark wasn't forgotten, it was hidden. Not because men failed to protect it, but because God chose to preserve it. Revelation speaks of a time when the temple in heaven opens, and there, within view, is the Ark. Flashes of lightning, rumblings, earthquakes. Why would John see the Ark if it no longer mattered? Because the Ark is not just a vessel. It's a witness of the first covenant, and perhaps, soon, a witness to the final one. In Jerusalem today, technology sees what eyes cannot. Ground-penetrating radar, 3D scans. Below the ancient city, they've found cavities, chambers, measurements aligning perfectly with the biblical dimensions of the Ark. But nothing is published, no press releases, just classified findings, sealed dig sites, military fences. Why? Because the Ark isn't a tourist attraction. It's a throne, waiting for a king, or a pretender. The prophet Daniel warned of a man who would set himself in the holy place and exalt himself above all gods. If the Ark returns, what seat will he claim, and who will believe he belongs there? The Ark was never man's idea. Its measurements were not invented. Its gold was not decoration. It was a shadow, drawn from a greater reality. When Moses ascended Mount Sinai, he wasn't handed a design from this world. He was shown the pattern of heaven, a blueprint, and the Ark was its centerpiece. Two cherubim facing one another, a seat between them, called the mercy seat, the place where God would speak, not from a cloud, not from a prophet, from between those wings. This was the throne of God in miniature. But a throne implies a ruler, a presence, a judgment. Israel carried that throne through deserts and wars. Before it, the Jordan parted. Around it, Jericho fell. When it led, fire followed. When it rested, glory descended. This was not furniture, it was fearsome intimacy. But after Solomon's temple, the trail grows cold. It vanishes from scripture without ceremony. Some say Jeremiah hid it. Others believe temple priests lowered it through the chamber stones before Nebuchadnezzar breached the gates. Some even suggest it was taken to Ethiopia, resting in a chapel no outsider is allowed to enter. But what if it never left? What if it remains exactly where God intended, from the beginning, buried beneath the mount where heaven met earth, beneath the cross where mercy swallowed wrath? And if the Ark is indeed beneath the crucifixion site, if it bore witness to the blood that fulfilled its meaning, then its silence is not loss, it is completion, a sealed testimony, waiting to be unsealed. As the book of Revelation echoes, and the temple of God was opened in heaven, and the ark of his covenant was seen within his temple. But before heaven reveals, earth must remember. And remembering always precedes reckoning. Not all temples are built above ground. Some are carved in silence, in shadow, hidden not from man's pride, but from his corruption. Beneath the streets of Jerusalem lies a labyrinth, ancient tunnels, hollowed-out chambers, some built by kings, others by something older. Stone meets time in strange geometry, corridors that lead nowhere, stairways that descend too far. Wyatt wasn't the first to speak of a secret chamber beneath Golgotha, but he was the first to describe it in detail. He claimed the ark was sealed in a stone box, inside a cave whose air hadn't moved in thousands of years. The ceiling directly above had cracked, split, as if guided by an invisible hand, and through that wound, something had dripped. He found what he believed to be dried blood. He had it tested. The results defied biology. Theories swirled, skeptics mocked, but none could explain away the exact alignment between the crack at Calvary and the mercy seat below. Coincidence? Fabrication? Or prophecy in stone? The idea that the ark lies not in a museum, but directly beneath the crucifixion site, is not romanticism. It is theology made tangible. It suggests that the Old Covenant's throne bore direct witness to the new. From above, the Lamb slain. From below, the law fulfilled. Heaven, touching earth. And still, the chamber remains sealed, officially unacknowledged, untouched by modern excavation teams, because to enter it, to disturb it, would be more than archaeology. It would be trespass, not against a nation, against the throne of God. Ezekiel once saw the glory of the Lord depart the temple, but he also saw it return, through the eastern gate, filling the sanctuary again. Is the ark waiting for that return? And if so, who dares open the door before the king arrives? The ark began in the wilderness. It may reappear at the end of the world. In the book of Revelation, when the seventh trumpet sounds, heaven opens, and what is seen? Not the Lamb, not the angels, but the ark of the covenant. Why? Because the ark is the legal witness of covenant, and covenant is what God uses to judge. It held the law, the standard by which sin is measured. It held the manna, the evidence of God's provision. It held the rod that budded, proof of chosen authority. In other words, the ark contains the case against mankind, and the mercy offered through a greater priest. And when it reappears, judgment follows. The Jewish Temple Institute in Jerusalem is ready. They've rebuilt the sacred vessels. They've prepared the priestly garments. They've retrained descendants of Levi. Everything is in place, except one thing: the ark. They don't claim to have it, but neither do they deny its existence. Some say it will be found when the time is right. Others say it must remain hidden until the Messiah comes. But which Messiah? Jesus warned of a deceiver who would come in his own name and be received. Paul echoed this, speaking of the man of lawlessness who would set himself in the holy place, claiming to be God. If the ark is revealed to the world, will it mark the return of the true king, or will it be used to crown a counterfeit? The lines between prophecy and deception are razor thin, and the world is eager to believe in power, especially one clothed in holiness. If the ark becomes public, it will divide nations. It will awaken religious fervor. It may even spark war, because whoever controls the ark claims the authority of heaven, and men will kill to sit where angels once bowed. The Temple Mount is not silent. It hums, it trembles, it remembers. Beneath its stones, the weight of history presses upward. Wars fought, temples razed, blood spilled, prayers whispered into the dust. It is the most contested ground on earth, not because of politics, but because of what once stood there. The Ark of the Covenant was placed in the Holy of Holies, the innermost room of Solomon's temple. No man could enter except the high priest, and even he, only once a year, with blood on his hands. It was not a symbol. It was sanctuary, and it was dangerous. Today, Jewish, Christian, and Muslim hopes converge on this mountain, each believing something holy once stood here and will stand again. In 1981, radar scans beneath the mount revealed hollow spaces, vaults untouched by excavation. The dimensions aligned with the original Holy of Holies. But access was forbidden. Digging was blocked. No explanation offered. Why? Because some truths carry too much weight. Some revelations shake more than politics. They threaten entire belief systems. What lies below the mount may be more than architecture. It may be a countdown. Some rabbis whisper that the ark is already known, preserved, hidden, protected, waiting. Others claim it will return from heaven itself. But all agree on one thing. When it appears, nothing will stay the same. Zechariah wrote that the Lord would once again choose Jerusalem, that he would dwell there, that the nations would come trembling. And Revelation warns that when the ark is revealed, voices will thunder, lightning will flash, and the earth will quake. The Temple Mount may look calm, but it is a sleeping volcano, a sacred fault line between heaven and earth. And when it cracks open, what will rise from its depths may either redeem or consume. When the ark reappears, the world will not rejoice. It will divide. Imagine the headlines: Ark of the Covenant discovered beneath Jerusalem. Imagine the questions: who owns it? Who controls it? Who gets to open it? One object, ancient, untouchable, suddenly becomes the epicenter of global fury. Governments will panic. Religious leaders will clash. Scholars will scramble to explain. The faithful will fall to their knees, and the wicked will plot to weaponize it. Because the ark does not belong to any nation. It belongs to the covenant between God and his people. But that won't stop men from claiming it. Some will say it's a hoax. Others will call it divine. Prophecy teachers will split. News anchors will mock. But behind the noise, the spiritual atmosphere will shift. Because deep down, all will know something has changed, and no one is in control. Revelation says when the ark appears in the heavens, thunder will follow, an earthquake, and a storm unlike any before. The ark is not passive. It judges. It reveals hearts. It did in the desert. It will again. The nations rage today over lesser things, oil, power, borders, but soon they may rage over something older than all of them, something sacred, something alive. And in the midst of that storm, a voice will rise. Not a politician, not a preacher, but a deceiver. He will offer peace, unity, control over the holy. He may even claim divine appointment. And if the ark lies at his feet, who will dare oppose him? Zechariah said, all nations will gather against Jerusalem, that half the city will go into exile, that the Lord himself will fight for Zion. When the ark returns, the countdown begins, and the world will not remain a bystander. It will be pulled into prophecy, one trembling step at a time. There is a blueprint waiting in the shadows, not on parchment, not in human memory, but in prophetic time. The third temple. For years it's been spoken of in whispers. Drawings exist. Materials are prepared. Garments have been woven. Priests have been trained. The altar stands ready. Every element of worship, except one. The Ark. The Temple Institute in Jerusalem has made no secret of its mission. They are not rebuilding myth. They are preparing a throne, not for a priesthood of nostalgia, but for what they believe is coming. Yet the Temple Mount remains untouched, because for the third temple to rise, two things must fall: the world's resistance and a veil of divine restraint. The book of Daniel speaks of a covenant made with many for 7 years, a fragile peace. Halfway through, the abomination of desolation stands in the holy place. Paul calls him the man of sin, the Antichrist, but the temple must first be rebuilt. So what happens if the ark appears? If it is unveiled, made public, who will claim it? And who will use it to legitimize authority? A Messiah, a deceiver, a coalition of nations. The third temple could be built in record time. But would it be holy, or would it be a throne for the wrong king? Jesus warned, "Many will come in his name," and the world, desperate for order, will accept the counterfeit before they recognize the true. The ark, once a vessel of God's voice, could become a megaphone for delusion if placed in the wrong hands. The question is no longer if the temple will rise, it's who it will rise for. And when it does, will the world be bowing before prophecy fulfilled, or deception enthroned? What is seen on earth often echoes what already exists in heaven. Moses was told to build the ark according to a pattern shown to him on the mountain. Not imagined, not interpreted, shown. Heaven's original, copied in wood and gold. The ark on earth is not just a relic. It is a reflection, a mirror of the heavenly throne, the place where righteousness and mercy meet, where justice does not cancel love, and holiness does not erase compassion. In Revelation, John sees this throne: lightning, voices, thunder, a sea of glass, and the ark, no longer hidden. It is there, unveiled, waiting, which means the ark below, if truly beneath Jerusalem, is not the only one. there is a heavenly counterpart, and that heavenly ark does not tremble before governments. It does not answer to archaeologists. It awaits the day when the judge sits and opens the books. The earthly ark was always temporary, a shadow, a warning. But when the shadow returns, physically, politically, spiritually, it signals that the real is close behind. When the copy re-emerges, the original is not far. And if the heavenly throne is preparing to be revealed, then the time of sealed scrolls and divine silence is ending. The prophet Malachi said, "The Lord whom you seek will suddenly come to his temple, but who can endure the day of his coming?" The ark's reappearance would not be about religion. It would be about reckoning, because when the throne is visible, so is the judge. And when heaven's mirror is held before the earth, what will we see reflected back? Every throne exists for a king. And the Ark of the Covenant was never just about law, or sacrifice, or symbols. It was about presence. In the wilderness, when the Ark moved, the people moved. When it rested, they camped. When it led, they followed, even through impossible terrain. It was never the box that mattered. It was who sat above it. The cherubim faced inward, not outward, as if even they could not look directly upon the one who dwelled between them. The ark was not a container. It was a throne, waiting for its rightful occupant. And he is coming, not as a suffering servant this time, but as a conquering king. Zechariah saw his feet touch the Mount of Olives, splitting it in two. Ezekiel saw the glory return from the east gate. Revelation saw the heavens open, and a rider on a white horse leading armies clothed in white. He comes not to negotiate, but to reign. And when he does, the ark will no longer be hidden, no longer buried, no longer sealed beneath rock and time. It will rise, not in shadow, but in glory, not as a relic, but as a witness. The world is watching headlines, politics, pandemics, technology, war. But beneath it all, beneath the noise and distraction, the earth is groaning, and the ark waits for one more procession, for one more trumpet, for one whose blood already touched its lid. He will not come to find the ark. He will come to fulfill it, because every throne longs for its king. Every prophecy aches for its completion, and every covenant, old and new, finds its amen in him. So now, as stones shift beneath Jerusalem, as signs appear in the heavens, as silence grows unnaturally loud, the ark is waking, and the king is already on his way. The ground beneath Jerusalem is not still. Stones shift in silence. Air hangs heavier near the gates, and beneath it all, a throne waits, not built by hands, not meant for politics, but for glory. The ark is stirring, not as a relic, but as a witness, to covenant, to sacrifice, to return. And while the world argues over headlines, heaven is opening a scroll. The trumpets are being lifted, the veil is whispering, and the blood still speaks from the mercy seat. Something is coming, not rumor, not theory, the king. But before he steps through the gate, the ark will rise,